Why does the church have infant baptism? For all those who are parents out there, let me ask you, if you are a mother or a father, you want the very best for your child, right? Would you agree with this statement? Well, to be honest, I have not met a single parent who would disagree with this statement, namely that all parents want the very best for their children. The problem is that sometimes parents want the very best for their children, but they don't know any better, and therefore do certain things that are more harmful than helpful to their children. But more on that another time. Now, it's true that parents want the very best for their children, and many I know want to instill in their children a good sense of faith and moral as well. They want their children to be good people. And so one of the questions I get asked quite frequently is this: why does the church baptize infants and babies? Usually, those who ask this question seem to also imply that the church should just wait until the infant or child or baby is old enough to become an adult and let them decide whether or not they want to receive the sacrament of baptism. Here, I'd like to share some thoughts on this question. This is really a dense question and we can go on and on and on, but I simply want to keep it as basic as possible because believe it or not, this question has been asked throughout the centuries and there's debate whether to baptize children or not, or wait until they become adult. Now, you see, the culture today values freedom, independence, and choice. Think about it. We all want freedom and choice. And if we don't get to choose whether we want to be baptized or not, that is deemed unacceptable by the culture. And so then it is within this context that is the choice for us whether to do whatever we want. Then there's the challenge to try and understand the idea of why parents baptize their children. But the church has made it clear that infant baptism is the practice if it is the desire of the parents to have the children baptized. It's the parents who make the decision. And so then the church defines baptism of a child as babies up to 7 years of age. Because the understanding is that after 7 years old, the child would have developed reasoning abilities. And so the child can then decide for himself or herself if he or she wants to be baptized. Now, even with children who are 7 and older, they still have to go through the RCIA process, which stands for the Rite of Christian Initiation of Adults, even though they are considered children. Sometimes there are programs of RCIA, but adapted for children, and we see why in this context. And so then, to be clear, the church does not force the parents to baptize their children. It is by the parents' choice of wanting the very best for their children that they proceed with this. And so again, parents want the very best for their children, and it includes the desire of the parents to pass on their faith to their children. Consider this. Do infants get to decide which family they are born into? Or why one child is born into a poor family or a broken family, while another child is born into a rich family or one that is stable? Right? Sometimes people who bring up these ideas come to the conclusion that life is unfair. But then at the same time, there are a number of other factors that we must consider. And so therefore, baptism is a great gift which the parents can pass on to their children. Again, parents want the very best for their children, and so they want to pass on the gift of faith. And so the graces that come from the sacrament of baptism sows a seed for the faith in the child and helps the child to grow in the faith. Now keep in mind that baptism is the first sacrament and it's also a gateway into the other sacraments in the church. The graces that flow from this sacrament helps the child to live out their faith. Now, every so often when I celebrate baptism, for example, the mother wants the child baptized, but the father refuses, or vice versa, right? Not all parents agree. And so then this can sometimes become a problem. But then we also see how it can be resolved as well. Because again, parents want the very best for their children. And so there must be founded hope that the child will receive the education and the faith which the parents intend to pass on their children to celebrate the sacrament of baptism. And the role of godparents are important as well. For example, godparents can encourage and teach their godchildren the faith, not just in words, right, like formal education we think about, but also through examples, because children learn through examples. They can imitate and observe the adults, right? And so the godparents, etc. So here's a final thought on this topic. The faith of the parents is reflected in those of their children. This is very important. The very first school of every single child is not the church. It's not the actual school or the classroom. It is in the home. Parents are the very first teachers to their children, and by choosing to have their children baptized, they pass on the faith to their kids. Anyways, please let me know down in the comments below what you think about this topic. And thank you. May God bless you.